This is the weekly sales meeting for February 25th, 2024. My name is Chris Fleming. You can reach me at chris@cdmediaconsulting.com or go to our website at cdmediaconsulting.com. Today's topic is take the cold out of the cold call. Winter is my least favorite season. For one, it is usually cold. I'm not a big fan. I prefer warm weather. In the cold, you don't feel as great and other people don't either. It is a season of contained misery. When it is warm, people are happier. They are more receptive to ideas as they are not worried about freezing to death. This is why I keep moving south. One experience from the polar vortex, and that was the end of the line for me. The same parallel could be drawn in the sales profession. It is much easier to sell someone warm and receptive than someone cold and closed off. Yet new business is our lifeblood, and often new business starts with a cold call. You are starting fresh with an unknown person attempting to determine fit. You will want to uncover need. For the longest time, cold calling has been a staple of the sales profession. I have met very few people who enjoy this activity. Cold calling is filled with countless attempts to reach those who don't want to hear from you, and you are calling about a subject they don't want to talk about. And it doesn't matter the subject, you are an interruption. It is 100% of your job, so you believe it to be of the utmost importance, but whatever you are calling about is less than 1% of your prospect's world. At the speed of never does the person on the receiving end of the cold call exclaim with glee, "I am so happy you called. We've been thinking about what you sell all morning. Can you come in today and talk to us about how to spend our money?" If that happens, check the floor. It may be getting colder. I prefer to operate in a world of warm calls. It is easier to close those who have an interest in what you do than those who have none. You may be thinking, "Duh, I could have told you that." And then you would be right. The follow-up to this is, what are we doing as professional sellers to warm up our cold calls? How can we work on a batch of warm leads to make our job less painful and make them less like winter? What if we could put forth 20 warm calls every week? That would be a better arrangement than a list of 100 cold calls. You know, those ones that have less interest in you than an Arctic blast of cold air. The first seems much more pleasant. Please tell me how to get that done. Warm calls and cold calls represent two distinct approaches, but both are ways to connect with potential customers. Warm calls involve reaching out to leads who have shown an interest or engagement with your business. These interactions are more personalized and effective. In contrast, cold calls target prospects who may have no prior connection with your brand. Because of this, these often result in a lower success rate. Warm calls are based on established interest and trust, making them more likely to yield positive results. Cold calls need more effort to build rapport and trust during the conversation. Warm calls are generally more productive due to the existing relationship and interest. Cold calling is a valuable tool in sales, but it comes with consequences. Because of these challenges, most sellers don't put the work in this exercise to make it pay off. Even seasoned sales pros need to hone their skills and practice their craft in this area, if nothing else than to avoid potential burnout, which comes from a poor cold calling strategy. A proper mindset helps insulate us from the demoralizing impact of almost certain failure. If we do look at cold calling as a numbers game, the numbers will not be pretty. Rejection is certain, and rejection leads to fear of rejection. That will cause anxiety and reluctance to make calls. As a professional seller, we should prepare ourselves with an understanding of this level of rejection. It is a natural part of the process. Not every call will result in a positive outcome. The key is resilience. Keep moving forward. Much of this rejection comes from lack of preparation. We don't practice and work on our skills, methods, and techniques. We don't spend any time on research. We pick up the list and launch into the call without thinking about who, what, or why. This is where a plan comes into play, one based on audience propensity and marketplace predisposition. It can drive the prospecting funnel. Let's say you work for a company where you over-index on home improvement. Chances are calling on heating and air professionals is going to match up well with what you sell. It will knock down some of the almost certain barriers your prospect will have when you do pick up the phone to connect. Phone calls with relevant value propositions have a higher degree of success. "Hi, Mr. Smith. I am calling to talk to you about your advertising is not very interesting." But hi, Mr. Smith, I represent an audience of 50,000 people. 10% of them are going to need a new HVAC system this year. Let's schedule a time to talk about the message you would like to share with them. That second one has a higher chance of succeeding. It sounds less like winter. I am a big fan of scripting conversations. It is something I teach and something I practice. The scripting is not so we read it word for word and sound like a robot on the other end of the phone. The scripting is so we internalize the verbiage and work on delivering statements and questions in a natural tone. We want to rehearse what we say to a point it sounds natural. When we wing it, scripted approaches make calls sound robotic and insincere. You might as well be calling about my car's extended warranty. Prospects will detect a rehearsed pitch. When it sounds like you are reading a script, your call will go off the rails. Your prospect will be disinterested. They may even hang up on you. Yet when you script your approach, and it is a natural occurrence for you, it sounds more like an engaging conversation. Engaging draws people in. It allows you to be flexible. It allows you to pivot to the meat and potatoes of the exchange. When you have a natural, meaningful conversation, your success rate will be higher. Personalize your scripting. Almost everyone has a favorite movie or TV show. On these entertainment platforms, professional actors portray characters. Their job is to bring these characters to life. The words are almost always written by someone else, but the actors bring them to life. They do so by personalizing the delivery. They adopt the persona of the character so we, the audience, believe and feel the words on the screen. We are in the same boat in calling prospects. Have a script, yes, but personalize it and internalize it so the words have meaning and depth of character. Generic approaches rarely yield positive results. Instead, tailor your message to the individual or company you are contacting. Address your prospect by name. Reference specific challenges or goals in their field. Be clear of the connection to what you're selling. Make the call have relevance and meaning, and then it is not a cold call at all. When you are prepared to call new people, you get better at overcoming objections, and these objections can be real or imaginary. When you ask a question, listen to the answer, respond accordingly. This is the ultimate sign of a sales professional. Asking questions and then listening to the answer is a sign of respect. Be ready to listen. Don't be so consumed with the next thing you want to say that you miss key words and phrases coming from the mouths of your prospect. This ability comes with practice and time. When you meet objections, make a note of them. There are only so many. After you have been doing this for a while, you will find most fall into 3 buckets. And when you know how to respond to these real or imagined roadblocks, your calls will thaw. It will turn into a real dialogue rather than an adversarial exchange. A good prospect list is not a list of names. It should be a list of names of businesses that match up well with what you are selling. It should be a targeted list. Calling prospects who are not genuinely interested in your product is a waste of time. Ensuring that your call list is well targeted is essential to maximizing your chances of success. Look at what your operation does well. Profile your current customers and try to find more that behave like the ones you have. As you evolve as a sales organization, you can begin to hunt for those who match up well. You can seek out those who have the financial capacity to support proper investment in your operation, and you can find the businesses who can make decisions in a timely manner. Call this your ideal customer profile. Search them out. Do your homework. You thought that went out of vogue in grade school, but those who continue to learn about the business climate and business sectors do much better with new prospects. In the dark ages, when I walked uphill to school both ways, this was harder. Now that more and more information is online, you can find almost anything on the internet. If you are calling on an HVAC company, read their industry trade magazines. Find out what is happening in their industry. Understand your targets and what ails them. Begin your conversations talking about what is important to them. By doing so, you elevate yourself above every other seller they will talk with today. You have a better than average chance of being remembered because you stand out from the crowd. Demonstrate you've invested time in understanding their needs. You immediately establish a level of credibility and trust. You take the cold out of your call when you show that you are genuinely interested in solving their problem. Making warm calls is a more effective approach to connecting with potential customers. That is when you compare it to traditional cold calls. Start by creating some form of inbound marketing for your company. Focus on generating leads. Someone who self-selects and reaches out to you is going to have a much different conversation with you than someone who has never heard of you. Use content marketing, social media engagement, webinars, and email signups. These activities can help you collect information about your potential customers. They have expressed interest in your products. This is much of what we tell our customers to do. How many of us have a lead generation strategy for our operations? Next, plan to mine verticals. If you are going to call on one person in the HVAC category, why not call on all of them? That conversation is going to be very similar up and down the category. You are going to get better at that conversation the more you take part in it. Call on all of them. You will soon determine the pecking order inside that category. If there are 30 of them in your city, you will learn there are 4 at the top, a bunch in the middle, and 3 or 4 at the bottom. You will learn to separate the winners from everyone else. And some will prove to be warmer than others. Understand the timing of the industry. When you make calls on those who install pools, for instance, the middle of July is not the best time for that. Calling them in January as they are setting up their year may be a better use of time and energy. Make your warm calls at the right moment when the prospect's interest is at its peak. Keep good notes on customer contact. Every conversation should feel like a continuation of their prior interactions with you. This makes the call seem less intrusive. It is more like a natural progression of their interest. As a professional seller, offer solutions that align with the prospect's needs. Every warm call is an opportunity to showcase how your prospect can benefit from the business relationship. Cold calls have a negative connotation to them. They are cold like their name suggests. They start from a place where there is no relationship and you want to start building one. Many do not have the patience to work on this plan, and they have not been given the space by their sales organization to cultivate these conversations. Everything must be done yesterday to meet the intense pressure of revenue budgets. Those sales cultures that stress long-term customer development will be more adaptable to the warm call strategy. Those who take a consultative approach to customer acquisition will spend time developing their warm call strategy. They will be seen as easy to do business with, and they will bask in the warmth of their higher conversion rates and more satisfied customers. Customer retention will go up as our client base will feel understood and valued by our business. Work on taking the cold out of the cold call. Make them warm. My new book, 52 Weekly Sales Meetings, is now available on Amazon.com. If you like what you have heard here today, please consider downloading a copy or 2. You can always send one to a friend. Go to cdmediaconsulting.com right now and follow the instructions to order.